Where do you come to get all your news? Washington Informer. Where do you come to get all your news? Washington Informer.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to WIN TV Let's Talk, our program where we bring insightful conversations on important issues facing our community. I'm your host, Denise Rollard Barnes, and welcome to the first hot day of summer. We hope that you're staying cool. We also hope that your celebration of Juneteenth was a great day of reflection and commemoration of African American freedom. It was really a big celebration this year, and it's just inspiring to see how Juneteenth now is being adopted not only by the folks from Texas, but folks from all over the country. And even corporations and others are now looking at Juneteenth as a way of expressing things that, some want us to avoid, this diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's important that we acknowledge those of us, all aspects of our community, that we are inclusive in our days of celebration. And so my daddy would be a happy camper right now, as a man who was born and raised in Texarkana, Texas, died as an angry Black man because he knew about Juneteenth and just how that day became such a special day in Texas, and why it just made him very angry about the circumstances that got us to that day. But, now it's a celebration, a commemoration, and I hope that you had a great celebration of that day. I'm coming to you from the beautiful Baltimore Harbor. Doesn't look like it. I'm in an enclosed conference room right now, but I'm in Baltimore, where I'm attending the annual NNPA, National Newspaper Publishers Association, our annual conference. There are about 50 Black-owned newspapers, publishers from across the country gathered here to talk about our industry and how we can better serve our readers and viewers like you. So let me just take a moment now, because I want to say, when we talk about, and you all know, when we talk about newspapers and especially the Black press, it's been a struggle. And the NNPA, or let's say the Black Press of America, is 197 years old. The first Black newspaper being published in America on March 16th, 1827. And we had a wonderful speaker not too long ago who reminded us of the fact that not only the Black press, but Black Americans have come through many struggles. And if we can make it through slavery, as someone said a little while ago, we should not be afraid of a Donald Trump. But anyway, we just have to remember from whence we came and from whom we have come. If we're still here, it means that we've survived a whole lot. And so that's why the NNPA publishers get together. We have to constantly remind ourselves of our mission and our purpose. And despite the fact that we may not get the advertising dollars or all the other things that we think now others are struggling with, we are so proud to have you as our readers and our supporters. So I just want to say from the bottom of my heart right now, thank you, thank you, thank you for reading the Washington Informer, and now for being a part of the Let's Talk WIN TV family. Our guests today include Prince George's County State's Attorney Aisha Braveboy, who is joining us to discuss Our Streets, Our Future, an annual anti-crime initiative in Prince George's County. And you'll also, later in the show, get a chance to meet Zerlene Hughes. She's a new member of the Washington Informer team who focuses on home ownership. Hopefully you've had a chance to pick up our home ownership issue and see the great work that Zerlene did in putting that together, again, collectively with Ron Burke and a few others, and to read her editorial on getting a piece of the pie. So Zerlene is going to manage a sponsored segment with Prince George's County Department of Housing and Community Development, the agency director, Aspasia, Xypolia, in a special sponsored segment, as I said, available, talking about programs that are available to homeowners. Susan McClannahan, a senior manager of the Fair Housing Rights Program for the Equal Rights Center, will also be speaking with Zerlene about the rights of home of homeowners. We talk about buying homes. We talk about the importance of legacy and making sure that, we get that piece of the pie, but also their rights and responsibilities that come with homeownership. So we look forward to that conversation. And finally, my, I'll say, artistic Ward 8, but really DC-wide superhero of the arts community, Kiana Jones, founder and executive director of the Congress Heights Arts and Culture Center, is here to talk about this weekend's Juneteenth celebration. So we got a full show. We hope that you will reach out, get your family and friends and other folks to tune in because it's time to us to come together to celebrate our heritage and reflect on the progress we've made towards equality and justice, and to have that conversation right here on Let's Talk. Now, I hope you've picked up a copy of the most recent issue of the Washington Informer, and I've been in Baltimore since Tuesday? So I don't even have a print edition, which means we might want to think about that in the Baltimore community. But, the Afro is here and the Baltimore Times is here, so they're covered. But if you have not picked up a copy, you'll have to do like I'm going to do or have done, and that's get the digital edition, which was on the screen a minute ago. You can find that online at WashingtonInformer.com. I won't do all the WWs, but go to WashingtonInformer.com, where you can get the digital edition and scroll through that and see the great news that we published this week. We want you to please, as I said earlier, share today's broadcast on your social media platforms. Follow us on Facebook, IG, X, TikTok, Threads, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And I want to thank you because I've been seeing you all sharing the newspaper. I saw it actually this morning on X. And then again, a great story that was done by one of our young writers, who just, as you've heard me mention to him to you a couple of times, and DeMarco, who did a wonderful story on a financial literacy program that's taking place that Industrial Bank is coordinating or has coordinated for the last 3 years at the DC jail. So they're preparing inmates or people who are residents of DC jail so that when they come out, they have some understanding of how to operate in the financial space. And so we commend Industrial Bank for doing that. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Washington Informer TV. And then when you go to Washington Informer online, please, 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 you'll see a little box that'll pop up and it'll ask you to subscribe. Thank you. To subscribe, it's free to the Washington Informer. So all you have to do is just put your email address in there. That's it. And you'll start receiving news and information, all kinds of things from us. We don't want to litter your inbox, but we certainly do want to keep you informed. So make sure to go to WashingtonInformer.com and become a member of the Washington Informer family. So let's turn now to our weekly broadcast by Curtis Knowles.
This is WIN TV News, bringing you the news that matters. Police in Prince George's County took to the skies to find $1 million in stolen equipment hidden on a plot of land in the county. Captain Craig Weingartner of the PG Police Department said the police had multiple reports of stolen construction equipment from local farms and businesses, and thanks to a GPS device, tracked it back to a property in the 4400 block of Wheeler Road. Police then used a helicopter to get a view of the land from above and found an adjacent property with exactly what they were looking for: several stolen Bobcat trailers and other equipment. Police got a search warrant and searched the property and eventually found 13 stolen skid steers, 2 excavators, and numerous trailers and building equipment. They arrested 38-year-old Brandon Green and charged him with conducting a theft scheme of over $100,000 and multiple felony theft charges. DC's Attorney General has filed a lawsuit against 5 construction companies and brokers claiming they misclassified hundreds of workers, depriving them of benefits and wages. DC's Attorney General Brian Schwab claims several local construction companies are stealing from workers. In the lawsuit, the Attorney General said that the Whiting Turner Contracting Company, WG Welch Mechanical Contractors, and 3 labor brokers violated the district's wage and hour laws. One of Welch's most high-profile projects is the City Ridge mixed-use development on Wisconsin Avenue in Northwest DC. Through the lawsuit, the Attorney General's office plans to have the construction companies pay back the workers affected and pay penalties to the court. They will also force all 5 companies to comply with the district's Workplace Fraud Act, Minimum Wage Revision Act, and Sick and Save Leave Act. The newly renovated Folger Shakespeare Library will host a ribbon cutting this Friday near Capitol Hill. The library was the brainchild of Standard Oil president Henry Folger and his wife Emily, who lived in Brooklyn, New York, but decided to donate their priceless collection to D.C. so that the nation's capital would have an expansive library research facility to accompany the first permanent Elizabethan theater in the United States. Folger commented saying, quote, "We had to hold this building up temporarily while we demolished the foundation underneath and poured newer and deeper ones, and then inserted this new public pavilion that includes over 5,000 square feet of gallery space for us to engage the public. The new renovations also include a pair of beautiful outdoor gardens, inviting you into the new building."
Thank you very much, Curtis. I mean, a couple of those reports made me want to say, what? But anyway, we won't talk about that now. But we want to move on to our first conversation with Prince George's County State's Attorney, Aisha Braveboy, who is out there in the hot sun. Are you staying cool?
I am doing my best to stay hydrated and cool. We're out here for our sixth annual men's event, which includes a golf tournament. And so we're out here at the Oak Creek uh, for our golf event.
Wonderful. Well, I'm so glad you could take a few minutes to join us because we want to hear about the Our Streets, Our Future initiative. And we think it's a really important initiative that you've initiated to reduce crime in Prince George's County. Give us some details.
Absolutely. Well, Our Streets, Our Future is all about the community of being a part of crime prevention and also solving crimes in our community. And so, what we do is we bring a lot of resources directly into those communities who have been impacted by crime. And so, we bring a little bit of fun. So, we have food and music and giveaways, but what we bring a lot of are resources. People who need jobs come here to our event because we have employers and also job training opportunities on site. And so we really want people to take advantage of job opportunities in our community, as well as educational opportunities right here in our community. We've partnered with nonprofits, with for-profit companies, and our labor unions who all want to help us employ our residents. And then we also provide counseling services. We know that a lot of people are dealing with trauma, they're dealing with addictions, mental health issues. And so we want to help people get through those difficult moments or times or really conditions in their lives that perhaps lead them to not being as productive as we want them to be. And we also want people to live full lives. We want them to have joy. We want them to, have dreams and then work hard to achieve those dreams. And so there may be things that are holding them back. And we want to figure out what those things are, and let's work together as a community to help everyone. So that's what these events are about.
Attorney Braveboy, I have observed you over the years, and I know that you are a person that believes in second chances. I think you have, just a feeling about, why particularly our young people get involved in crime. But I've also observed how you've gotten tougher over the last couple of years, recognizing that, there are prices you have to pay for the bad acts. But it sounds like you still believe that there are ways in which to address these issues that are beyond the jailhouse and the courtroom. So
Absolutely.
how is this impacting, or you think it will impact the crime in Prince George's if folks are so concerned about?
Well, let me tell you, I'm concerned about crime. I mean, I live here. I grew up here. My parents live here. My entire family, at least immediate family, they're here in Prince George's County. So what happens in Prince George's County affects all of us. And so, am I tough on crime? I've always been tough on crime. We probably talk about it a little bit more now just because of some of the recent incidents that have happened. But our office has a strong conviction rate. We hold perpetrators accountable. That's important. But we do that well. And I think as society, we have learned that prosecutors, their job is to prosecute, and that is absolutely true. But what we don't talk about is that our job is also crime prevention. And how do you prevent crime? You prevent crime by giving people real hope and real opportunities. And so even if someone commits an offense and I'm holding them accountable, which I do, I still provide opportunities for restoration because over 95% of the people who go into the system come home. They're coming home. And so how they come back matters. It matters not only to them, but it matters to all of us because someone who has opportunities, a job, educational opportunities, they are less likely to end up committing a subsequent offense. So we want to bring down that recidivism rate by providing this hope. And our community has really a role to play in that too. Our community are made up of people who are skilled professionals, business owners, people who run nonprofits, people who have skill sets that can aid individuals who need support in our community. And I have been really grateful for the outpouring of support from individuals in our community who want to step up and want to make a difference. And so we bring all of everyone together, really, those who have committed the offenses with those who want to help together to make a difference. And it has been successful. I mean, I can tell you that we have a Back on Track program, we have an emerging adult program, we have restored the lives of juvenile lifers and youthful life offenders um, who, you know, changed their lives around, who deserved a second chance. And none of them, not one, has returned to the criminal justice system. The only time I see them is when they're in community trying to make a difference. And that's what we want to see for more people. So I am encouraged. I am encouraged by what I see those who we've given a second chance do in our community and the fact that they are focused on their futures, on their success, on building their families, growing their wealth. That's what we want for everyone.
And you outlined many things that can happen that contribute to crime in a person's life. And I guess, you know, you've had conversations with them.
Yeah.
Is it jobs? Is it housing? Is it what, based on Our Streets, Our Future,
Yeah.
are these initiatives in response to some of the things that you've heard when you've actually talked to people?
Absolutely. I mean, Our Streets, Our Future was really born out of, what we saw was an escalation in gun violence and carjackings, specifically committed amongst young people, very young people. And we said, no, they are not going to take over these streets. These are our streets. Now, they can live on these streets too if they want to be law abiding citizens. So these are our streets. That's why we named it Our Streets, Our Future, meaning that we all have a role to play in ensuring that the streets of Prince George's County are safe and that we take ownership wherever we live, wherever we work, wherever we recreate, that we're taking ownership and making sure that those streets are safe. And if there are issues that are going on, let's work with law enforcement to solve and address them. So that's really why we have the Our Streets, Our Future initiative. And the community has absolutely responded like very, very well. They always come out, they're always supportive. And we help countless people at these events get connected to real resources.
Well, I know it's hot, and I'm asking you all these questions. But I had two things before you go. One, I mean, I see the flyer. It looks like it's a really exciting event. Any folks you need or activities besides, jobs that?
Yeah, yeah. Well, look, it's a fun event. So we have Poet, who's a radio personality. She's awesome. We have some local musicians who will be providing some music and entertainment for us. We will have giveaways. It is a fun time, trust me. But it's really a fun time for a purpose. And I hope to see everyone out on Saturday. Shooter Sports, 1 to 3.
So I can't let you go without asking. Up here in Baltimore, folks are just celebrating the fact that we have a Black woman
Yes.
that's a candidate for the Senate. Are you there?
Yeah, I mean, we have to keep our Senate blue. Okay, so we need a blue wave, not just in this state, but all across the country, because there's so many rights at stake. A woman's right to choose. There's so many issues around gun laws and immigration, and so many other issues that matter to the people here in the state of Maryland that are really on that ballot too. And so we have to make sure that we are not fooled, in my opinion. I know this is not a political show. We are not fooled by those who want to disassociate from their party of choice because it's inconvenient here in Maryland to be associated with that party. But they did choose to run uh, in a primary for that particular party. So they are representing that party, and that party has unfortunately not been a friend of so many issues that are important to us here in Maryland. So we want to see Angela also Brooks be our next senator. She has a great chance of getting there, and she will represent us well.
Well, that's great. I appreciate you following through on that and at least commenting. That's what I meant to say. And you are just sparkling away here. So I'm glad it's
I
sparkling.
think that means I'm sweating
I
away, but
know.
okay.
So I'm going to let you go now. But thank you so very much. I hope folks will show up tomorrow and just have
Yes,
an
it's
event.
going to be a great turnout. So come and join us. Thank you.
All righty. Have a good one.
All
Thank
right.
you. All right.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye. So, yep, you heard it here. So it looks like we have a unified Democratic Party in Baltimore. It'll be interesting to see how the election turns out. We're all looking at election turnout across the country. The numbers have been fairly small in primaries all across the country. But we are understanding that there's some people who have switched parties. They're now more independents than there have ever been. But we still have to look at not necessarily the top of the ticket, but all the people locally on the ticket and what their issues are, what their promises are and commitments. And so we're going to continue here on Let's Talk to make sure that we, one, help you to understand where people are on those issues, but also that you are not only registered, but that you vote in November. We've got to protect American democracy. And if you got a better plan, we certainly do want to hear it. So let me move on to our next guest. But first, let me bring on Zerlene Hughes. As I said, a new member of the Washington Informer team. We're still coordinating titles here, but we're calling her our house editor. As you all know, we have the Our House special issue. We have the homeownership issue Our House newsletter that will be returning in a couple of months. But our homeownership issue, which was published this week, and Zerlene Hughes Sproul is the editor, and I am so glad that you are here with us today. Zerlene, how are you?
Oh, glad to be here. I'm doing good. How are you?
Good, good. We're not hearing you really well, so if you can speak up a little bit more.
Sure.
Wonderful.
Better?
Okay, much, much better.
Okay.
Yes, yes. So first of all, before we bring on our guests, I just want you to give a little bit of a highlight on what the homeownership issue was. I know the theme, how we came up, or you came up with the theme, and what in putting that together, recognize were important issues for our community.
Absolutely. So yeah, the annual June home ownership issue is out. So hopefully folks have seen it. It is also online, but you could also pick up a copy. This year's theme is Get Your Piece of the Pie, generating wealth through home ownership. And this is something that is important, nationally, but we're really trying to talk to our Prince George's and Ward 7 and Ward 8 residents to excite them about the opportunities. It's really important to generate wealth. And, based on my interviews, this is the way to do it, by owning a home. In some of the research that's out there, the National Association of Realtors have put out, I think it was 2022, that the Black home ownership rate is at about 44%. But white home ownership rate is at 72% or 72.3 or so. So we've got a lot of catching up to do. And so the addition that we're talking about has got information about how the local governments and the federal government are responding to the gap. It's even got information about how to Airbnb your home. You know, you may want to still own your home, live in your home, and there's opportunities to continue to generate even more wealth. And then there's information about how to buy and why to buy. And so the edition is also sponsored by Wells Fargo. And we've got some folks on today's show that are also featured, and some of their information and statistics are featured in the edition.
So on that note, Darlene, thank you very much for that. I'm going to turn it over to you and let you bring on your guests, and hope that folks will stay tuned because we got some great information coming. So take it away.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. So this 10-minute segment is actually sponsored by the Prince George's County Department of Housing and Community Development. And we are happy to have our first guest for this segment, Aspasia Xypolia, the agency director of Prince George's County Department of Housing and Community Development, with us today. We are observing National Home Ownership Month. And so, Director, welcome. Let's start off by talking about the county's first-time home buyers assistance program, which is called Pathway to Purchase.
That's right. And it's great to be with you today. Thank you for the opportunity. So we want to make sure that people know about the down payment assistance program that Prince George's County is providing. It's called Pathway to Purchase. And recently, within this past year, we actually changed a little bit the program guidelines, and we increased the amount of down payment assistance we're providing to first-time home buyers in the county, because we saw the change in the interest rates in the market inhibiting people's first-time home buyer people's ability to purchase their first home. And so we have now increased that down payment assistance to $25,000. That comes in the form of a loan with 0% deferred interest. So if you stay on your home for 10 years as a homeowner, that amount gets forgiven. So really, it's a way to access this first-time home buyer opportunity in the county and build wealth.
0%. That is fantastic.
That's right.
I love that.
You have to go deep to make things work sometimes, and that was important.
Awesome.
And that is a program that actually our department works closely with the Redevelopment Authority of Prince George's County. It's a partnership between the two agencies. So the Redevelopment Authority is at the front lines of providing the assistance. Our department is funding this program, and in partnership with the RDA, we developed the guidelines. We have also partnered with Maryland DHCD because they have a program called MMP. So if you would like to access the state's MMP program that provides you with additional assistance, you can do that and then come our way and get an additional $25,000. So we're trying through partnerships to increase the resources available to first-time home buyers.
So can you tell us about the eligibility requirements? Is it a lengthy process? Is it challenging?
We try to make it as easy as possible to the recipient. So pretty much your lender, because you have to have identified first the house you want to purchase, and you have to have a mortgage, a first mortgage. So your lender will contact the Redevelopment Authority, and we're working through your participating lender through this process. So for your purposes, it should be a smooth process. And your private lender with the Redevelopment Authority are working together to provide this assistance. And there is a very long list of participating lenders in our website, so I will be surprised if, and we actually increased the list even further to include all the MMP lenders, so I'll be surprised if someone wasn't participating. There are eligibility requirements. It is for households earning up to 80% of area median income, and that has to do with how big is your household. So you can look at the specifics in our website, but for example, for a family of 4, that is about $120,000 a year.
And so your office administers the program directly?
The RDA, our program, our office funds. The RDA is at the front lines. The RDA works directly with the first lender. So when the closing of the house happens and your first lender wires the funds, we also wire our portion of the down payment assistance.
Got it. So where can viewers get more information about the program?
I see that you already put our information there, which is great. So you can go to our website, mypgc.hcd, and look under our homeownership programs, and the pathway to purchase is linked there and takes you directly to the RDA website. And I saw that that's awesome. Yes.
So can you tell us about some other housing programs that can assist Prince George's County homeowners?
Yeah, and so what is important is for a lot of people, I think you mentioned earlier, owning a home is a wealth generator factor and possibly the most important investment you will make in your life. So what is also important is to make sure that that investment remains solid as people age, as their income may drop. So we have, through, again, partnerships, created 2 programs. And, we love acronyms. So people who are in the housing space love acronyms. So we have 2 programs. One is called HRAP and stands for Housing Rehabilitation Assistance Program. And the other is called HOPE, and it stands for Home Ownership Preservation Program. So those 2 programs are very similar. I'll explain why there are 2 of them, and they're both implemented through partnership. So our HRAP program that you see here is implemented in partnership, again, with the Redevelopment Authority of Prince George's County and HIP, which is our nonprofit partner on the ground actually implementing the program. And the other program that is called HOPE is implemented in partnership with Habitat. And so what happens is, again, it has to do with income eligible households who are already owning a home in the county and not living in their home. And they're experiencing a hard time keeping up with maintenance issues, but it cannot be just typical wear and tear. It's mostly life safety, accessibility enhancements that they need to make in their home in order to continue living there. So through these programs, we fund those improvements, and the goal is to make sure that existing homeowners can remain in the county and protect their assets.
Thank you for that. So moving on to rental housing, can we talk a little bit about what the county does to create new and preserve existing affordable rental housing?
Yeah, and I thank you for that, because we do always want to talk for homeowners, but renters are also a very valuable part of our community. Not homeownership is not for everybody at a period of their life. They may be more transient. So it's also important for us to have options, affordable options for renters in the county. So we do 2 distinct efforts. One is preserving existing affordable assets in the county. And when we say affordable, it may be affordable today, but it not may be affordable tomorrow, which we see happening not just all over DMV, but everywhere in the country where economic growth happens. Inevitably, a lot of times rents increase, so much so that existing residents are no longer able to afford them. So we have a program called the Right of First Refusal program, where every time there is a transaction of a multifamily property in the county that has over 20 units, our department is able to intervene through partnerships, again, with a pre-qualified list of mission-driven for-profit and non-profit developers, and secure the long-term affordability of that property. So since we launched the program in March of 2021, when we did our first transaction, we have been able to preserve the long-term affordability of over 1,800 units in Prince George's County. And those are units that we call them NOAH, naturally occurring affordable housing. But those are really a disappearing asset. So it's very important that we proactively preserve that asset in the county to make sure existing residents have the opportunity to stay and participate in our growing economy. And then it's also important to make sure that we build new housing. So existing residents and also others who haven't had a chance to call Prince George's County home yet can find welcoming. And so we, since 2021, we now have a predictable funding source, which is called our Housing Investment Trust Fund, that we can use in partnership with the state of Maryland and, again, mission-driven developers to produce new affordable housing opportunities in the county.
Excellent. And so moving on to the fact that some folks may need assistance. I know that there was some sort of emergency rental assistance during the COVID-19 pandemic. Are funds for that still available?
There are still available, and although we are not at the height of the pandemic anymore, so we don't see the same wave of applicants or eligibility for that purposes, we are still able to help income eligible participants if they're facing an eviction. So I want to encourage everybody, if you are facing an eviction and if you are in the court proceedings, you can still go to our website that we showed earlier and go under the Emergency Rental Assistance Program and do an online application. So it has a link that says begin a new application. You click there, you have to submit first your court documents and then you can proceed. Now, if you are not able to submit your own application, we are working very closely with nonprofit partners on the ground that can help you submit this application.
And can you tell us how many households you've been able to assist with this particular funding program?
Yeah, since March of 2021, when we first launched it, we have assisted over 11,400 households, and we have deployed over $113 million on rental assistance. And we hope to continue helping people this year, this calendar year. So definitely, if you have a REIT or a court proceeding, begin an application, and make sure to also call our ERAP hotline that we have included in the flyer.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Director Xypolia. I'm sure everything that you've shared with us is going to be useful to our readers and our subscribers and our viewers. And to those who are tuned in, additional information on DHCD is shared on our Home Ownership Edition. Going to keep, plugging that, which is available in print or online. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to keep it moving. Joining me now is Susie McClannahan, who is the Senior Manager of the Fair Housing Rights Program at the Equal Rights Center. Hey, Susie, welcome.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
I'm so glad to have you. I have been on your website. There is in the Washington Informer Home Supplement, a lot of nuggets from your Know Your Rights aspect of the website. And so I really want to be able to assist our readers, viewers, subscribers. So first, tell us a little bit about your role at the Equal Rights Center.
Yeah, so my name is Susie McClannahan. I'm the Senior for Housing Rights Program Manager at the Equal Rights Center. And we are a civil rights organization based in Washington, D.C. that seeks to identify and eliminate discrimination in housing, employment, and public accommodations, both here in our home community of the D.C. metropolitan region, as well as nationwide.
Excellent. And so, as I mentioned, that there's a Know Your Rights article, and a lot of folks don't necessarily think that there are rights as a homeowner or even a renter. So this is basically discussing, protecting oneself as a renter or a homeowner, which is super useful when searching for an apartment or home buying. Can you share a little bit about what happens when homeowners, prospective home buyers don't know their rights?
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say, so I've been at the Equal Rights Center for about 8 years now. And before I started, I couldn't have told you what my rights were either. So I think that there's a lot of lack of knowledge, and that really speaks to the need to make sure that we do know our rights so that they can be respected. What we do know, right, home buying is a very confusing process and it can move very quickly. You can put an offer on a home and have 30 days to get through all the paperwork, jump through all the hoops, and close on that home. And so things are moving at a very fast pace, and it can be really hard to identify potential discrimination. That being said, discrimination can occur at any part of the home buying process, including, for instance, having a real estate agent steer a home buyer to certain neighborhoods based on assumptions about where they want to live. It could be a lender giving less favorable term offers or worse customer service to an individual based on a protected identity when they're trying to get a mortgage. It could include, during a home appraisal, assumptions about the value of the home based on the homeowner that lives there or the neighborhood in which that home is located. And all of that can lead to really devastating consequences, both for home buyers and homeowners. It can mean that a home buyer unfortunately misses out on a chance to purchase what would have been their dream home. It can mean that they're paying more for a mortgage and ultimately less able to accumulate kind of wealth through that home ownership in the long term. And for more broadly, kind of for our community, what it means is that we continue to have severe neighborhood segregation, both by race and national origin. and that we continue to undervalue homes in neighborhoods of color, and especially in Black neighborhoods.
So there are these protected classes, and there's local jurisdictions like DC, which have a longer list perhaps than the federal list, and some different states have different lists. But regardless, if we have the local, the state, and the federal anti-discrimination laws, why does housing discrimination still happen?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's very frustrating, right? We have these laws. The Fair Housing Act, the Federal Fair Housing Act, was passed in 1968, more than half a century ago, due to activism pushing for civil rights, especially by Black community leaders, to address racism and segregation within the United States nationwide. And we got this really great legislation out of it that makes housing discrimination illegal, and yet we still see it happening. And this really speaks to the importance of enforcement, and that our civil rights laws are only as meaningful as they are followed. And so that we need to make sure that housing discrimination, in order to stamp it out, that those housing providers know they will be held accountable if they commit discrimination. Yet, for individuals who are reporting housing discrimination, right, this can be one of the worst experiences in someone's life. And to go through the reporting process, which could take, anywhere from 6 months to several years, and relive that experience over and over, resharing your story, is extremely traumatic. And this is why it's really important that enforcement is happening not just by those who are experiencing it, but proactively on a systemic level by other organizations and agencies to ensure that discrimination is uncovered and stopped before it can ever directly impact somebody personally. And so one of the roles, our organization helps to fill that gap by engaging in a variety of systemic work to try to address discrimination and stamp it out, so that individuals never have this experience. And one of the ways we do that is through civil rights testing. And so that is a tool that essentially objectively, it's an objective tool used to determine if and how discrimination may be occurring. For instance, we did an investigation a couple of years ago where we had white women and Black women testers go to various leasing offices throughout the DC area and disclose that they had a criminal conviction. And what we found is that white women who disclosed a criminal conviction were frequently told that they were more likely to be approved than Black women describing the same conviction, right? And so in this case, we had a criminal record screening policy that somehow was different depending on the race of the person who disclosed their record. And so so civil rights testing can help be a tool to identify discrimination, especially that's more subtle, where an individual might not be able to recognize what's going on, or to help substantiate and kind of replicate what happened to that individual and show that it's occurring.
Very interesting. So some of these protected classes are gender, age, sexuality. So do these also apply to those who rent?
Yes, absolutely. This is a great question. The Federal Fair Housing Act prohibits discrimination in any housing-related transaction. And so that includes not only buying a home, but renting. It applies to getting a mortgage, getting homeowners insurance, renters insurance. It applies to condominium associations or cooperatives. So this law is really quite broad. And it prohibits discrimination nationwide based on race, color, national origin, which refers to where you or your ancestors are from, religion. It also protects based on sex, which includes sexual orientation and gender identity, and disability and familial status, which refers to having children under the age of 18 in one's home. And you reference, for instance, age, which is protected locally in Washington, D.C. And there are a myriad of other protected identities at the local and state level, depending on where you're located. And so if you're ever not sure what your rights are, that's something that you can contact us, and we can let you know what the protected classes are in a given jurisdiction. Because I don't want to take 30 minutes kind of reading out the list for every city and county in our area.
Right.
But in DC, Maryland, and Virginia, one of the common protected identities is source of income. And so that refers to how you pay your rent. And this is one of the most frequent complaints that we see at the ERC. And typically, for source of income discrimination, what we are seeing is that people with housing vouchers, so also called sometimes Section 8 or housing choice vouchers, are experiencing discrimination from landlords who do not want to rent to them, meaning that the subsidy that they're getting to help make it possible for them to have long-term housing stability isn't serving its purpose because they're experiencing discrimination by landlords. And so this is, I would say, a particularly rampant form of discrimination in our region that we are working to try to stamp out.
So how do you stamp that out? Like, if I am a resident, let's say, and I'm looking to buy a home and I'm, a little concerned that something bad is happening, like, what is it like? What do I do to give you guys a call? What is it like to work with you? If there is, in fact, an instance of discrimination, is there court or mediation or some advocacy campaign that just unfolds?
Yeah, so at the Equal Rights Center, if someone contacts us to report possible housing discrimination, we'll first do an intake to better understand both the circumstances of what happened and also identify what their desired outcome or resolution is. So the most common form of assistance we offer is just direct advocacy with the housing provider to address the issue that occurred. So for instance, a lot of our clients experience possible discrimination during the rental screening process, where they're applying to rent somewhere and they were denied for what was likely an illegal reason. And we can send a letter to the landlord to educate them about the landlord about that person's rights and ask that their application be reconsidered so that they can ultimately move into the unit. To give an example in the home buying context, we were recently contacted by a person with a disability who had an emotional support animal. And regardless of whether you're in a no pets building or you have other restrictions around pets, people with disabilities who have an assistance animal, whether a service or emotional support animal, have a right to have that animal. But they were in the home buying process and the cooperative said, well, we're going to need some time to think about this. So, you might miss out on this home. And so it'll take us months. So you can buy the home and find out that you can have the animal, or you can just, move on. And so we wrote a letter explaining that actually they couldn't do that. And so that allowed the individual to comfortably move forward with the home buying process, knowing that their rights would be respected and they would be able to have their animal in the home without kind of worrying about how the association was going to respond in the future. We also assist people with filing complaints either with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, also called HUD, or with a local human rights office, such as the DC Office of Human Rights, or in Maryland, the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights. And we will go through that entire complaint process with the individual, from the first step of filing the initial paperwork to going all the meetings, going to the mediation, the investigation interview, to hopefully result in a resolution that satisfies the individual to resolve what happened to them. Lastly, people do have a right to file a lawsuit in court regarding their claims of housing discrimination instead of going through the administrative complaint process. That being said, the ERC, Equal Rights Center, we don't have legal services and we don't have attorneys on staff, so we would be unable to assist with going through court.
Oh, all right. Well, thank you, Susie, for all of this information. I'm sure there's many more issues and resources that you have, so our readers can go to the Equal Rights Center website, which is equalrightscenter.org. And again, to those watching, make sure you check out the article, Know Your Rights as a Home Buyer and Homeowner, in our home ownership edition, which also includes insights on, breaking through as a first-time home buyer and keeping a home in the family, and has also resource about selling to upgrade your home. All right, back to you, Denise. Thanks again, Susie.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Earlene. Those are two great informative interviews. And I know there's so much more coming. And we want people, if you're out there in the audience and you're having either having some homeowner challenges, some homeowner success stories, because we're going to be looking at those as well. I mean, people who've been out there trying to get a home and recognize that there were some positive programs that were able to assist them, or anything. I mean, your family legacy where someone passed along a home. We just want to hear from you. We want to hear your stories. So reach out to us. Actually, you can reach us at news@washingtoninformer.com. Or Jolene, you want to give out your email address?
Yeah, absolutely. Please reach out to me. I am Z Hughes, Z as in zebra, HUGHES, at washingtoninformer.com.
We want to do everything we can to make sure folks get that piece of the pie.
That's right.
And keep it You know, the pie, we eat it and it disappears, but we're talking about getting something that will last for generations. So I want to thank you, Zerlene, for those great interviews. And again, pick up that issue of the Washington Informer, see that great information, and reach out because we want to hear your story. So Zerlene, stay cool, enjoy the day.
You as well. Take care.
All right. Talk to you soon. So now it is my absolute pleasure, as I said, to bring on what I call the all in all of arts and culture, particularly in Ward 8, Kiana Jones, founder and executive director of the Congress Heights Arts and Culture Center. Kiana, welcome to Let's Talk.
Hey there. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, we're glad to have you because you got some exciting things coming up this weekend, correct?
This evening, tonight.
Okay, all right. Talk to us.
So, hey family, I am Kiana Jones, founder and executive director of Congress Heights Arts and Culture Center. And we have a celebration. We are celebrating, 9 years of being who we are and what we do. And we're starting off with our 4th annual Juneteenth fundraiser, which is tonight at 6 o'clock, right across the street from the Informer, right on our Congress Heights, downtown Congress Heights, across from the plaza. So we have a lot of things that are being happening. We're going to honor some folks. We have the illustrious Angie M. Gates, president and CEO of Events DC. She's going to be our keynote speaker. We've got live painters. We got a lot going on tonight.
Well, that's great. I mean, Kiana, you know, you are no stranger because you grew up in the area. And then who would have thought that you would come up and become such a force for arts and culture in the community? But give us a little bit about your background and kind of how you discovered the space that you have just grown in.
For sure. I always tell people that this definitely chose me because this was never a dream or a thought of mine. As you know, I'm a former journalist, so that's why I'm always excited to do stuff with you. You've always been, you know, a beacon for me, something to follow and something to be honored. So thank you first for that. So yeah, came out of journalism and it was getting a little rough for me. I told you earlier that I'm an empath, so just so much energy around things. And I needed to find a way to release because news was getting too stressful. So I ended up taking a leap. And just working with my dad, the infamous Finest Jones. And that's kind of how I found myself coming back to Southeast. I went to school at NC State, came back and went to Maryland, got into journalism and just was trying to find something else. I started to work with him, which was a lot more stressful. And so had to switch that up. And so the house actually that he lived in, my siblings grew up in, and that he turned into a business space for himself. We were moving out of it, but it was still vacant. And I was running his properties and that was driving me crazy. And I was like, Dad, I have a different idea. And he was like, what? And it just happened to be the art gallery. I remember growing up as an artist and kind of got away from that. You know, as you grow up, you get distracted with this and that and the third and trying to chase money instead of what actually makes you happy. So luckily I came around circle and decided to open the art gallery. And my father, being the businessman that he is, reminded me that just being an art gallery wouldn't be sustainable. So we added the classes and workshops, and then we expanded the space to create rental space for the community. So that's who we are and who we've been since 2015, which is crazy.
I know time has passed so much, and you know, you've been an integral part of the planning and the success of Art All Night. Which I'm amazed sometimes to see all of these folks on Martin Luther King Avenue and no police.
Yeah, we do a good job. That's our bread and butter, I think, in the year is Art All Night, which is back, I think we said September 29th this year. Okay. So it's always like the final week of September. But if y'all don't know about Art All Night, it's a citywide party. It happens in all the wards. It's expanded since we first started, I think back in 2016, 17. So now it's like a weekend party. It used to just be one day, but it's a weekend party now. And it's just a big art party. There's artists that are outside, vendors, live music, food, everything that you could think about. And it's family friendly. And it's like all the way until 3 o'clock in the morning, like you said, and very low police activity and normally no violence. So we're really proud of that.
Oh yeah, I think we all are. It's a really great thing. Tell us a little bit, I just from a personal perspective, because you talked about how news was so stressful. We know how stressful it is right now,
Yeah.
but you found a space, in art. And so for those who just have not recognized that other part of the brain, why do you think art addresses stress and other issues that we may face, mental health issues particularly?
Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of where I focus on it. And I'll be very transparent. I really came back to art, or I got serious with my art because I got into a very dark space within myself, and art was the space that I could express. And I think being a former journalist, I honed on words so much and using words through either poetry or just free writing and journaling that sometimes you just don't have the words for how you feel.
Hmm.
And I remember I was in a writing camp when I was a kid, and there's a free write exercise where the rule is you put your pen down, but you can't pick it up. You got to keep writing and just let it out. And so I kind of turned that around and put it with art and said, okay, if I put the pen down and just let it go, or the paint down and let it go, what comes out? And so I think when you tap into, because I hear that all the time, I'm not creative. I don't have a creative bone in my body. I can't. It's all about what you feel, and just let it go and let it flow is what I say. And I think art is one of those universal languages where it doesn't matter where you come from, your background doesn't matter, your age doesn't matter, your race doesn't matter. It's just a way that you can let it go and let it flow. And everybody, when you see it, someone sees something different. And so it starts this conversation that may not happen otherwise, and with people that you may not be conversing with. But I think definitely on the mental health conversation, it's a way to just let it go. There's no wrong way or right way to do art. It's just about the freedom of expression. And that's why I love art so much.
Yeah, my son and I, Desmond, we during COVID, we used to do a paint and sip night, and I kept saying, we got to finish it tonight. He kept saying, no, we don't. No, we don't.
Yeah,
We did. We did. We painted every Friday night for a month and a half, and it was really a cool connection.
And I think that's where people really started to value art. Was
Mhm.
during COVID, was during the protests, during all the things that we were going through. They needed something, and then just tapping into public art, doing the murals, and the Black Lives Matter mural that we did downtown. It starts
Right.
a conversation that needs to happen and can trickle all around the world.
Well, you said that this event tonight is also a fundraiser
Yes.
for the center. So just talk a little bit about, I mean, what your goal is, and what the fundraiser supports.
Yeah, so as I said, we've been in business, we've been celebrating, we've been doing art, we've been expressing, we've been healing for almost 9 years now. We'll be celebrating that at the end of the month. So again, like I said, we do classes, we do workshops. We are a safe space for the community, like have been officially labeled that by the mayor herself. And so I said, again, we serve the ages. I say ages 5 to 105 because I think by 5 you can pick up a paintbrush, and if you're still kicking, you should still be able to do it too. And so we're just a space about healing. Again, it's a space for community. You can use it. And so it's not an easy lane to be in, especially being in Southeast, having art. We talked about foot traffic and stuff like that in our neighborhood, which is hard. So this tonight is not only a celebration of what we've done, but we're also honoring people in our neighborhood that are helping us move the cursor and help move the community. So we're honoring Miss Regina Sneed, which is the owner of Baby Einstein Childcare, which just had the explosion a few months ago in Anacostia.
Yes, exactly.
Got all the babies out, no injuries. So we want to honor her and show that we're there to support her. And we're also helping her rebuild her nonprofit. So that's really exciting. We're going to be honoring Miss Melissa Jackson, which is born and raised in Southeast. She went to Ballou, and she's also the librarian for Ballou High School and has been there for decades and been working with our kids. So we want to work with her. We want to honor her. Anikan Udofia, he's one of our incredible muralists of the city. He's done some great murals to honor some of the victims and kids that we've lost here in Southeast. So we want to honor him. And then we're going to honor Monica Ray. She's doing some great work here in Southeast. She's the president of Commerce Heights Training and Development Center, which leads our whole little Main Street here in Southeast. So we want to honor the work that she's doing. Ms. Angie Gates will be giving an inspiring keynote speaker. We have some live painters that'll be coming and painting. I've got Brian Bailey, JJ Monroe, and Mark Garrett. And Mark Garrett is the co-owner of the Capitol Hill Boys Club that is in Anacostia. They have a new gallery. They took over the laundromat there, so we had fun there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've got Paul Orange with DJ Blackhouse as a DJ. We've got live performances from the students at Richard Wright Public Charter School, the journalism school. So they're going to come over and sing Lift Every Voice and sing. And they have a live dance performance. So we're doing a lot, not only just to fundraise for us and help us keep doing what we're doing, but we want to honor and support the people that are not always giving their flowers in Southeast. So it's going to be a big party, Juneteenth, celebrating freedom, culture, art, all the things. It's going to be fun.
So everybody, like my daddy used to say, lottie dottie, and everybody is welcome to the party.
Everybody is welcome. Yes, come one, come all. Our doors hang on welcome hinges.
Wonderful. Well, I'm so glad that you were able to jump in. I know you're trying to pull it all together, but to jump in, join with us this afternoon to share this great news and to extend this invitation to our viewers. So I hope to get back from. It's not like I'm far. I'm right up the street.
Right.
To get back shortly, so I can join you all this evening and just have a great event.
I will. Thank you so much for having us again. Love everything that you're doing. I'll see you soon down the street in the neighborhood.
Oh, Kiana, we didn't give the address of the art.
Yeah. It's actually right down the street. So Torrance Heights Arts and Cultural Center is located again right across from the Informer at 3200 MLK Avenue. But the event tonight will be at 3100 MLK Avenue. So it's just a block away, which is the old Congress High School, the old Democracy Prep, and now the official UDC campus in Southside.
And if we can just post quickly the Arts Center website.
Yep, chacc.org. Yep, we're right there. That's us on the Twitter. I should have got that, or that's X now. But CHACC is just our acronym. Our website and our Instagram and X. I forget it's X now.
Well, it's probably there on the site, so folks can find it.
Yeah, it's there.
All right. Okie doke. Well, go ahead and get busy, and I'll see you later. All right.
See you. Safe travels. Thank you, family.
Thank you.
All right. Peace.
So that brings us to the end of another Let's Talk. I want to thank you all for watching. It seems like we get so much information to go so quickly. But it has been a whole hour, a little bit over an hour, we're a little bit over, but that's what happens when we try to get it all in. So I want you all to have a wonderful, wonderful start of your summer. Stay cool, stay hydrated, as the state's attorney told us. Drink plenty of fluids, and water is probably the best thing to be drinking right now, unless the Gatorades or whatever. I want to say thank you to our segment sponsor, who's the Prince George's County Department of Housing and Community Development. Thank you so very much for sponsoring that segment and bringing that great information to us. Again, thank you to State's Attorney Aisha Braveboy, Aspasia, Xypolia, Susan McClannahan, and Kiana Jones. So tune in next week for more inspiring discussions and impactful stories. I'm your host, Denise Rollard Barnes, saying have a great week and signing off.